Fine. So, good morning, all students. So, as a part of module 4, today we might end the chapter that is classes and methods, then move on to inheritance in the next class, right? And one second, why is it going from the beginning? Okay, yes. Process and methods. So we had discussed about in earlier class, that is STR method, special method. So when they ask you about special methods, you need to explain about init and STR. And when they ask you about operator overloading, you know what are the methods which you can take and explain. So preferably take one method for comparison operator, one method for normal arithmetic operations like that. You can example. So we had seen that in the last class, I think, and also we had solved some of the examples in the previous class. So we will be dealing with something called as type-based dispatch. Okay, if time permits, we'll look to polymorphism. To follow the demo and with an assignment. So I don't think so. The time might permit for polymorphism. What is a type-based dispatch? So we will just see in today's class. Okay. So before I type-based dispatch, so I just want you to look into this program. Okay. Just look into this program now. So the program which I have taken is defining my class time. Are you able to see the program, students?
Yes, ma'am.
So I have declared one init method,
Yes,
a time which has got attributes r, minute and second. You can see r, minute and second. So I have used the init method to initialize them. And similarly, I have used an str method which takes returns what students? Returns a str method always returns what ma? What is the return value of str always?
String.
A string. Right? So it returns a string which is composed of r, minute and second of the object referred by self. So the invoking object which we usually call. And I have also overloaded an operator, that is my plus operator. Very simple as it is, you can just see. So you all know to overload plus operator. Students, which method should I define? Which method should I define for overloading plus operator? Add prefixed and followed by 2 underscore. Okay. Then which has got two arguments, self and other. Right. And I have also defined one more method called as time to int, which converts what to what, students? What does this time to int do? What does it do? Converts what, ma? Time to int. Converts
Time
time
object to integer.
integer. So as I told you, a little more high level of adding my two time objects will be converting it to an integer, add the integer values and convert the int back to my time. Okay, so we have already discussed this time to int. So you can see how we convert time to int. First I'll take our, all methods will take first argument which is self dot r into 60 plus self dot minute. I convert r to minutes plus the adding with the minute. Then similarly, I now convert the entire minutes to seconds and return that seconds value, which is my integer value, isn't it? Now, you can observe the definition of add. It takes two arguments, self and other. Now, you all know that when I'm adding two objects, self is also pointing to a time object. Other is also pointing to a time object. Do you agree with me? Both are pointing to time objects only, right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I am calling the method time to int with respect to which object? Self object. Yes, and you also know that self always refers to which argument? Which operand? Right or left?
Left.
Left. And other always refers to which operand?
Right.
So both are time objects. So I'm using those time objects to convert it to int. Okay. Self dot time, other dot time to int. After that, I'll store the entire integer value in seconds, then convert int to time, passing the seconds value. That is my return value. And you all know that here return will return what? Int to time. What object does it return? What object does it return? It returns what? Returns which object, ma? After adding two time object, what should it return?
Time object.
Time object, obviously. It returns the resultant time object. Very simple as it is, right? So into time, you observe that this cannot be a method. Okay, so what I did is, why? Because int, I'm converting int to time. Okay, so the invoking object here is no more a time object. So I cannot have a time object as an invoking object. So what I did is I simply defined a function outside my class. Can you observe? This is outside my class. So which converts int to time. Actually, you could have defined inside the class only. Right now, just know I have defined it outside the class as a normal function. So int to time seconds. So you know how to convert int to time. Create one time object which is referred as time now. Then use divmod function. So you all know what is divmod function. It returns what all? It returns what, students? It returns what, ma? It returns what?
Dividend and
Quotient and
remainder.
remainder.
Quotient and the remainder as a tuple value. And you know that the quotient, what it returns in the first case will be the minutes, which will include your hours also. And the remainder will be my resultant second. So time dot second. Next, again, you will call divmod, which takes the total minutes, right? Comma 60. So it divides my total minutes, which also includes your hour, by 60. So the quotient will be now the resultant hour and my remainder will be the resultant minute. And you are returning time. What is now time for me? Time is now a object of class time. Yes. So now I have created two objects of T1 and T2, which is like this. T3 is equal to T1 plus T2, and I am displaying all these things. Okay. Does it add now? No problem. Does it add? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
So what is the answer if I execute this program? What is the resultant time I get? What is the resultant time? Resultant time will be what, students? I'm printing all T1, T2, T3, where I'm just using print function. Automatically when it sees print function for an object, it moves to which method? Where does it jump? Where does it go? When I write such statement, where does it go? Which method does it invoke? Students. Invokes which method?
Net.
No, here in the print statement. Can you print a time object or any object like this without a special method? Which is a special method if you want to print this, printing the time object as a string. Which method it invokes, students?
STR.
STR method which you have defined. See, if you don't define this, it will throw an error. Why? Because T1 is not a string. No, it is an object of time class. So all the cases, it invokes the STR method. I have already shown you this in the previous classes. Okay. Tell me what is the resultant time, students, for me. What is the result?
8 hours, 20 minutes, 8 seconds.
Okay. So you are telling 8 hours. 20 minutes. Then
8 seconds.
8 seconds. 8 hours, 20 minutes, 8 seconds. Let's see whether we get the same. 8 hours, 20 minutes, 8 seconds. Eight hours, 20 minutes, 8 seconds is the answer. So when you add it, so automatically what does it do? It converts this to an int, this to an int. It will add those two integer values and then converts that back to the time object. So everything is there in the code. Fine. So now what I'll do is, I will do something like this. What did I do now? What am I trying to add? I am trying to add a time object with what, students? With an
Integer.
integer. Okay. What answer do you expect? Does it do the operations or it will throw an error? Add what? Add basically now
Error.
wants both as the objects. Be an object of time class. So we get an error. Let us execute and see. You can observe that you are getting the error at this particular line. Yes, it is not possible for us to add a type object to an integer. So I can add only an object to another object, but I don't have the facility to add this kind of a operation. So what do I do is, I look upon something called as type-based dispatch. So I follow one rule. Based on the type, I will decide which method it has to invoke. So we added two time objects, but somewhere we want to add an integer to a time object, which is not possible, right? Definitely it will not give me any answer, rather it gives me an error. So now what I'll do is, I'll slightly change the version of the add function based on my type. Type of which? Type of self or type of other, students? Type of which? Based on the type of
Other.
other, because self is pointing to the invoking object, that is T1. T1 plus 50. See, I want something to work like this, yeah. The other way you can ask me, ma'am, why not 150 with T1? That also I will tell you, right? Right now assume that T1 plus 150 has to work. T1 is now referred by self, no problem. But for me, other is a problem, isn't it? So based on the type of other, I will invoke two different methods. One is add time, the other one is the increment. Very simple as it is. Just look at the code now, the same code. But what I'll do is, I'll check the type of other. Okay, just look at this part of the code. What does this do, students? Is instance. You remember this function? Is instance. Can anybody guess what does it do? What does it do in this case? Is instance, other comma time. What does it do?
It will check whether the type is an object or not.
Yes, it checks whether the first argument what you gave is an object of the second argument class. So what is my first argument? Other. It checks whether other is an object of which class? Which class? Time. If other is an object of time class, it returns a value called as it returns a value called as true. So now for me, self is also a time object, other is also a time object. So what I'll do is, I'll call one method. So I write a return statement, return the value. So what method I will call now? Self dot add underscore type other. So I have given some name. So when these two are objects, I will just call another method self dot add underscore type other. Okay. Provided if other is not an object of time class, else when it returns false, I'll return or I'll call the other method so called as self.increment other. Very simple as it is. Other, if it is an object of time class, simply add two time objects. If other is not an object of time class, call the method increment. We have already seen increment method, isn't it? So let us now define what are those two methods. Okay. So I have called is instance. If other is an instance of time, call the method add underscore time. If not, call the method increment other, taking the self as my invoking object. Now I should define these two methods. Yes or no, students? I should define these two methods. Let me define it. Def add underscore time. Again, it takes two arguments because self is my invoking object here and other is my next argument. Okay. So I will do the same thing. Now, see, what is this add time doing, students? Add time is adding what? Add time is
Time.
Time object.
two time objects. Same thing I do. Seconds is equal to self dot time dot int other time today. It is come down. This is a single line. Return again int to time. Converted value of seconds into a time object. Very simple. Now, by chance, if it is not a time object, say it is an integer, so I should call the method increment. So what should I do? I should add this seconds to self. Yes, self is the invoking object. Means to say self is now pointing to the which operand ma? Which operand? Self is pointing to which operand? It's referring to which operand? T1, the LHS operand, right? So I should write the code for it. Any guesses? What is the code for increment? What is the code for increment?
Self dot time to int plus seconds.
Okay. So what I'll do is self dot time to int. I'll convert self to an integer, add that to my seconds. Yes, or you can write seconds is equal to self dot time to int plus seconds. Right? Then what should I do? Then what should I do?
Return into time seconds.
Return into time the seconds value. Very simple as it. Okay. So now add this code to my program so that that particular thing works. Okay. Okay. Do we need this add? So I don't more need this add. So I'll just remove this and add the code here. Okay. Let us see whether this part of the code gets executed or executed in it. Okay. Can you just observe, students? Let us see now whether if I pass T1 plus T2, what do I get? Whether I get the right answer. So what is now T1? T1 and T2 are what, students? Students.
Time objects.
Time objects. So the control goes to add. In that, what happens to each instance other comma time? Will it be evaluated to true or false?
True.
True. So it will go to add underscore time, the next method what you have designed, and it will convert time to int and then back again into to time. So addition of two objects it is taking. Okay. So I think the answer would be the same. 8 hours, 20 minutes, 8 seconds. Now what I'll do is, earlier I was getting error, isn't it? Now let us see whether I get error now. Okay. 120. Okay, 150. What is the expected answer, students? Can anybody guess? What is the expected answer here? 150 if I add to 45. What do I get? What is the expected answer? Students.
Four 48 15. Hello.
Tell me, Nirmal, what's the answer?
4 48 15.
4,
48
48.
minutes.
Okay, and then 15
15 seconds.
seconds. Okay, let us see whether it works. 4, 48, 15. Okay. Yes, 448, 15 seconds. It is working fine because I have designed in that way. If it is a time object, the second operand, if it is a time, call the respective function. Otherwise, add it and then do perform the operation. Yes, yes, students, right? So now this way of designing the program, isn't it, is given a name, that is type-based dispatch. So if other is a time object, as I told you, right, it invokes add underscore time. Otherwise, it assumes that the parameter is a number as of now, right? I assume that it is a number and invokes the increment. So it is in the hands of the programmer to design. So such operation of dispatching to different methods based on the type of the arguments. Remember, this operation is called as type-based dispatch. Very simple. So the answer is there. When I ask you what is type-based dispatch, it's nothing but dispatching to different methods based on what, students? Based on what? Dispatching
Type.
methods based on the type of the
Arguments.
arguments. It is called as type-based dispatch. So in the exam, they may ask you, explain type-based dispatch with appropriate examples. So you should be able to tell how type-based dispatch is done. Okay. Now, the next question is, as I told you, ma'am, you said T1 plus 150, I solved your problem. But the reversed way, so if I give 150 plus T1, it also should work, right? Yes or no? Do you agree with that? Yes. So, if the integer can also be a first operand. So, if I try to give the integer as my operand, let us see what do I get. Okay, so I give the integer as my first operand. Any guesses? What do I get? Will I get the same answer or an error? What do I get? Error? I think it's an error. You can see unsupported operand type for plus, int and time. Right? This will not work. Why? Because as I told you, self always refers to what, students? Self always refers to the
Legends.
left one, which is always the object. But you can now see here the left one is not an object of time class. It is an int, though it is an object of int class, but it is not the object of the time class. So what should I do in that case? What should I do? I should also find a solution for it, right? So obviously it will tell the unsupported operand types. The problem is, you know that instead of asking the time object to add an integer, you are telling add an integer to, sorry, you are asking an integer to add the time object, which the Python doesn't know how to do. It's not possible. But the solution is very simple, to be frank. It's providing a clear and a clever solution because there's a special method called as radd. Called as reverse special methods, radd. So what is this radd doing for me? Very simple there. Radd means right side add. Can anybody guess what does it mean? Right side add. What does it mean? Radd means right side add. It works reverse compared to your add method, I can tell. Can anybody guess what does it mean right side add? Where is the invoking object present for me?
Right
Other.
operand will be the
Right operand. So instead of self now pointing to the first, that is your LHS, self will refer to
Other.
RHS. That is, yes, RHS. It refers to RHS. Remember, RHS operand. Self other is the same, that will not change. The names are the same. Wherein self, which was pointing to the first operand, now will refer to which operand? To the right operand. Right? So wherein your right operand can be an object and the left operand can be your integer. Very simple. Just see the example. So this method will be invoked only when the time object appears on the right side. Okay? Left side is something, don't worry about it. If the time operand, the object appears on the right side, this only will be invoked. Okay? How do we define? The same definition. Radd, we write self other. So remember now, self is now not pointing to LHS, it is now pointing to which one?
RHS.
RHS. And other is pointing to? Yes, it is reverse way. That's why it is called as reverse special methods. You all know that self normally points to LHS, other points to RHS. Reverse way, self will point to RHS, other will point to LHS. Okay. Now what I will do is, after that, just see what I did. Return, I called my add method, wherein self is the invoking object and other is passed as an argument. See again, inside radd, I am calling the add method. I am calling the add method. Yes? Let us see whether this works. Let's see. We should know this special application of radd. So let's see here, you can see I'm not doing something special. I am again reusing it, that's it, right? So now when the things, when the interpreter sees this kind of assignment or this kind of an operation, first it will jump to add or radd. Where does it go? Where does it go, students? When it sees such kind, where RHS is the object, LHS is something else. So which method it invokes? Add or radd?
RAD.
All right. Accordingly, you will do the operation. Okay. See, it goes here. Then again, I am calling the appropriate add method where self is now pointing to T1 and this is pointing to other. Other is now having the value 150. Now let us see whether I get the right answer now without any errors. Yes, you could find that it worked. Why? Because that is the reason. So if you want, I will just execute this on the Python tutor. You can just look into it. Huge one. So what I'll do is, I'll just remove this part. Anyways, okay, just see the execution part. Is it visible, students? Is it visible? Okay, see, your time class is quite improved with all those things. Okay, now enter to time, which is a function, right? And the instance that is created, a new instance, because it calls init method, right? So 4 hour 45 seconds, 45 minutes and 45 seconds. Okay, I think I should show here. Now just see this. This is the red line. Can you see the red arrow, students? 151. So where does this red arrow jump to? Which line number now? Which line number? Which function? Which method? Sorry. Which method it should call? The red arrow which is at line 6. I think line number? Which method it has to call, students? Add, which is at line 33. So it will jump to 33. Just observe. Why? Because see, the interpreter will decide, okay, appropriately, right? See, it cannot take add here. Why? Because self and other should be, other can be anything, but self, the invoking object, that is your left hand side, should be an object of time class. So it will not go here. It will go to add. You can just see. Can you see the red arrow now? It jumped to add. And observe the self. See, self is a reference to the object. Which object? Self is a reference to which object, students? Just observe. Self is a reference to which object? Self is a reference to which object?
T1.
T1. T1 now. T1 is which operand? Right side or left side? Right or left?
Right.
T1. Right. Isn't it? So you can see that it is the right side operand. So itself, rather than earlier which was pointing to LHS, now here it refers to the RHS. Okay. Then again it will call the self.add other. So we are not bothered about other. We are just bothered about self pointing to an object. Fine. Now again it jumps to add, comes here. It checks, is instance other comma time. Is other an instance of time in my case? Is other instance of time or no?
No.
No. So what does it return?
False.
False. So it moves to the else case. Yes, you can see it moved to the else case. You see, it moves to the else case. Return self dot increment. So you have to add that integer value to this particular time object. So it goes to increment, right? It converts the time to seconds and stores in the seconds. Seconds, which was 150, that gets added with the self dot time to int. Try to understand. Okay. So it will convert. You can see move to time to int. It will convert to an integer value, right? Return seconds. You can now see 150 plus something. So give me the answer 17295. Again convert that to back to time object. Right? So you can see it does the conversion here. Yes, minutes, right? Can you see that? Here the hour is 4, I think. Yes, so you can see second is 15, minutes is 288. 288 again divided by 60, quotient will be the hour and the remainder will be the minutes. That's done. Yes, can you see that? Yes, students?
Yes, ma'am.
Start 48, 15 seconds. That will be the answer finally. So very huge program to trace it out still. Okay, it is printing time 1. So time 2 is 4 hours, 48 minutes, 15 seconds. Like this. So based on your this thing, you can write the code appropriately. See, when left hand side is not an object of that particular class, you should write radd. Radd in turn will call the add method. Very simple. Okay. So when we talk about reverse special methods, there are several reverse special methods, and I've just mentioned few here. R-sub, R-mul. See, all these methods will in turn call the original special method. It has to, because there's no other way to do any other operator overloading function. So you can see true diff, R, reverse. R stands for reverse. Reverse means to say, earlier self was referring to LHS, now self will refer to
RHS.
this, where RHS compulsorily should be an what? Object of that particular
Class.
class. Particular class. That's very important, right? That's about the special methods. Followed with an assignment I have. I want you people to design one class called as a point class. Okay. Nothing to do with RAD. I have not given anything with RAD, but still you try to do how you can do it. That works with either a point object or a tuple. So I want you to work add method, that is plus, where the LHS is a point object, something like P1. What are the attributes for point, students? What are the attributes?
X and Y.
Y, as usual. So you are supposed to implement this add method for me such a way that the second operand can be two things. See, I have given here. If the second operand is a point object, that is, say for example, P2, what should you do? If I give you P1 plus P2, what should you do, students? What should you add? I should get a resultant point object whose x coordinate is the sum of x coordinates of the operands. That is, P1.x plus P2.x should be the P3. Are you understanding what I'm trying to tell, students? Yes or no?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. P3.x is nothing but P1.x plus P2.x. P3.y is nothing but P1.y, P2.y. Very simple as it is. Okay. Similarly, I want you to write in the same single add method where the second operand is a tuple. That means I will write like this. P1, it's a tuple, like this. It should work if I write like this. And it should return a point object. Say I give P3. Tell me in this case what it should do. What should it do? Second argument is now a tuple. What should it do?
With X, it should add 3, and with Y, it should add 4.
That is, P1.x, the first, the x coordinate should be added with the first element of the tuple, and the y coordinate should be added with the second element of the tuple. Very simple. And the resultant should be a point object. Now, Just tell me, how many methods are you writing for this? 2 methods or 1 method? Such that it works both the cases. How many methods will you write? Students. Students. How many methods? Am I there? Students?
One.
1. So 1 add method which does what? What technique you are applying? I told you something there.
It will check for instance.
So what is the technique called as?
Type-based dispatch.
Dispatch. Okay. So type-based dispatch. So what is type-based dispatch?
On the type of argument, the operation will be done.
Do that. Right? Based on the type of the arguments, you are dispatching to different methods or functions. So you have to totally write 3 methods. One is the add method, that is __ add. Inside that is instance. If other is an instance of point, call one method, else call some other method which does the job for this. Right now I should see that the second operand can be either a point object or can be a second operand can either be a point or which object? Tuple. Okay, I'm bothered of only these 2 things. Now, adding to this, I want you to work for this also. 3, 4 plus P1. So what should you do? If I want this to be worked, what
include one more method, add.
Add. And invoke the add method. Yes, very simple. Can you all try doing it? Yes or no? Yes. Okay. I will share it. I will update this also in the question. Okay. And then share it to you all. Okay. Any queries, students?
No, ma'am.
No. Okay. I will ask 2 or 3 questions. That would be better. Fine. In general, self always refers to which operand?
Left.
When operator overloading, it always refers to left operand. Okay. So when you do operator overloading, left operand compulsorily should be what? Compulsorily it should be what? Compulsorily it should be what? Students.
Self object.
No. Correct. Self, she's pointing to the left operand, you people said me. So the left operand compulsorily should be what?
Object of that class.
Particular class to which you are doing operator overloading. Remember. See, as I told you, if you overload plus in time, you cannot add 2 point objects. That's not possible. If you overload plus in point, you cannot add 2 time objects. That is not possible. So compulsorily, the left operand should be an object of that particular class to which you are performing the operator overloading. Okay. What do you understand by type-based dispatch?
On the type of argument,
Okay.
then it will dispatch to different methods.
Okay. So usually when I talk about operator overloading, self will be always the type of the class, object of the class. What differs? What usually differs? Self cannot change. Self is always referring to the object. So what differs? Other. The second argument only what it differs. Okay. The next is, suppose say I want to make sure that my left operand to be anything, and I want right operand to be the object. Then how do I perform the operator overloading? Which method should I use?
RAD.
RAD. So the name is reverse special methods. It is not RAD. Here it is RAD, but then you have to use reverse special methods. So what happens in reverse special methods? Self is referring to which operand?
Right side.
Right side, and compulsorily right side should be the object of the
Particular class.
class to which the operator overloading is done. Yes, so I hope the concept is clear. See, another thing is, see, the number of programs I give, I cannot assure you those programs will might come in your exam. I cannot tell you that, right? So it depends on how the exam setting will be done. So it is based on the exam setter. So try to work on the same. Okay, so whatever program I just gave you may not be the exam question, but similar to it, it can appear in your exam. So small changes, instead of tuple, they might ask you list, right? Small changes. You can just look on it. Okay. Any doubts, students? Have any doubts?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I want you people to try this in the next class. It has to be displayed by any of you except Nirmal. I don't want Nirmal to display, and I think from IS it is Shreya. Most of the time she keeps displaying. Apart from these two people, I want others to come up with a solution. Okay, students? Nirmal? Nirmal?
Yes, ma'am.
That doesn't mean that you don't solve.
I will solve.
Okay, you solve it. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. See you in the next class. CS students, I will call you for registration confirmation. Just pick my call, WhatsApp call. Okay? My
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, yes. Thank you, students. See you in the next class.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.